Welcome everyone. Here is Geraldo Lemos Neto and Marco Gandra. We are at the Portal Saber Espiritismo in Belo Horizonte, Brazil, and we are here to have the program to know Spiritism in English, the program number 28. As you all already know, we are studying the warnings of the Spirit of Emmanuel through Chico Xavier. In the program 26, we study one warning of chapter 25 of the book On the Way to the Light. The last program, the program 27, we study the warnings that Emmanuel wrote through the sayings of Jesus in chapter 6, second part of the book 2000 years ago. And today we are going to study the book Divine Justice. You already know that we also study the Spiritist view of prophecies and mediumship. This is the book that I talked about, the Divine Justice, Justiça Divina in Portuguese. It was written by Emmanuel to commemorate 100 years of the book The Heavens and the Hell from Allan Kardec. It was published by the Federação Espírita Brasileira, FEB, in 1964. You can see three types of covers of this book. The latter one is the one in the left. I believe there is already the translation to French, Justice Divine, and also into English, Divine Justice. The chapter that we are going to talk about is the one that is named Before the Superior Words. And this is intriguing because all the two messages of warnings that Emmanuel wrote, the first one in 1937 that were published in 1939 in the book On the Way to the Light, and the second one in 1939, 38, 39, and that was published in 1940 on the book 2000 years ago. They were before the Second World War, and many of the Spiritists that studied this subject in a way thought that Emmanuel were predicting the Second World War that already happened. But this one was written in 1963 probably, because the book was published in 1964. So it was written way ahead of the end of the Second World War. And nevertheless, Emmanuel is still talking about difficult times. And he will analyze all the political and geopolitical situation of our nations on earth before the superior words. And he states, we cannot ignore the price that earth will pay for progress. Undoubtedly, the international ideological fields of life will enter into bitter conflict for dominance. The clouds of hatred looming in the psychosphere of the planet will sprout in devastating storms over terrestrial communities. And this, my friends, this is a warning. I tell you, this is one message that shakes me, because Emmanuel is so straightforward. He is not measuring words. He is just open, opening, warning us in a very clear way, in a way that he is almost slapping the hand in our face, in the nation's face, and analyzing deeply our not good path to this day. And he is saying that we cannot ignore that we have a price to pay to the evolution of human society. And he talks about the ideological fields of life here on earth between the nations in a bitter conflict for dominance, and this is still happening nowadays in 2020. And also he is talking about the clouds of hatred looming in the psychosphere of the planet. We can see that nowadays in 2020. The clouds of hatred, the ideological war, uh, political wars, also religion diversion, and all kinds of troublesome situation that come across all nations. And this could be a point that could sprout in devastating storms, like Emmanuel wrote, over all terrestrial communities. So we must be aware of that, and we must pray that we can surpass this situation in the coming years. And he continued, however, the vibrations of the collective suffering from radiation therapy work in the sphere of the soul, disinfecting the mental alienation of the people who hold the scourges of misery in the name of the idea of God, and those others who wish to extirpate them, banishing the idea of God from their own reasoning. Extermination mills will disintegrate racial cysts and the chains which muzzle the thought, remedying the economic agonies of humanity, and dissipating currents poisoned by materialism, extended over an aphrodisiac of moral irresponsibility. Wow, this is a punch, my friends. What is Emmanuel saying? It's like he is having us all nude, in our nations and human organizations, and uh, in our political system, in our social and economic system. He's talking about our mental alienation. The ones that hold the scourges of misery in the name of the idea of God, and also the ones that are materialistic, the ones who wish to extirpate the idea of God, banishing the idea of God from their own reasoning, instituting on earth all those communist and socialist organizations that want to extirpate the idea of God from our society. So this is something that Emmanuel is telling us that must be disinfected, because this is infestation of evil, of materialistic, of egoistic, of sorrow, of misery, of all kinds of sufferings from all over the world. We are infested. We must be disinfected. And if to be disinfected, we must have a shock of a collective suffering. This will happen. I hope not. We all hope not that we can surpass this challenge by ourselves, having between us fraternity, good, peace, and justice. But if we do not understand that we must go in the pathway of light, we will most certainly uh, see this collective suffering ahead of us. And the main problem, as stated by the higher spirits to Allan Kardec in the 19th century, is also stated here by Emmanuel through Chico Xavier in 1963, 1964. It's the poisoned materialistic notions that infested our lives, our minds, our hearts, and our souls. That's the problem we must face, and we must extirpate from us. The materialism is a huge problem all over the world. And then he states, enunciating, however, similar truths, it must be said that we are not prophets of warfare, nor promoter of terror. Today, let's examine the torments and the dark scheme organized by powerful nations, the government offices, even when they are disguised as political banquets and wishes for peace. So Emmanuel is saying us that he is not the prophecy of dark or the prophet of warfare. He is not the promoter of terror. He is not inflicting us the terror, the fear of for the future. No, this is not his task. He is just enunciating. He is just saying this to show us the radiographic of our souls and our nations, collectively and also individually. He is clearly stating that we have torments, schemes, corruptions, the evil organized by powerful nation in detriment of the need nations, the war between political fields to dominate government and offices. And even though most of them are disguised by political banquets of and false wishes of peace, but this is the truth. They are not acting in their hearts, and we are not acting in our hearts to surpass this, to overcome the materialistic and materialism view of our lives, most in our feelings, also in our nowadays everyday life as an individual, and most certainly our nations as a whole. And then he states, and in doing so, in warning us, saying all those truths. In doing so, we wish only to assert our positive faith in the great future when man, superior to all contingencies, will breathe finally free from the horror of war that sucked the energy and transformed blood into sewers of tears. So he is not scaring us. He has a positive faith in the great future of humankind when man, superior to all contingencies, will breathe finally free from the horror of war. Emmanuel is confident that we can do this. We can overcome all difficulties, all challenges, and surpass all kinds of problems to achieve a positive life, a positive way of living, full of faith, full of joy, full of peace, understanding, fraternity, love, and justice. And we can do this. I'm certain we can. And finally, he wrote through Chico Xavier in this book, Divine Justice, Justiça Divina, in 1963, published in 1964, opening roads to the Spirit in the era of light. We will embrace those for their victory in the work of goodness, in whatever post we would be located. Workers of immortality will inspire the inhabitants of the earth to emerge from the debris in which they buried their hopes, to rise toward other shores of the universe. So beautiful saying by Emmanuel, that the roads to the Spirit in the era of light is open. They are opening those roads for us since, the Spirit's revelation in the 19th century through Allan Kardec, and most certainly through Chico Xavier in Brazil in the 20th century. So they are opening those roads, the roads of the Spirit, finally we comprehend that we are eternal spirits, immortal spirits, that we will overcome all the material world to understand that we are spiritual beings. This is the era of light that is coming. The next generation that is already born here on earth will do this final task to transform all human institutions to the regeneration time predicted to be here on earth by the middle of the 21st century. And the good spirits, our mentors, the higher spiritual beings, will embrace all of us that had fulfilled their task, that had their victory, that will have or already have their victory in the work of goodness. Whatever post they would be located on earth, no matter where, in the post of science, in the post of philosophy, in the post of education, in the post of religion doings, collective doings, social doings, political doings, university studies, family doings, no matter where we are, our post must be regenerated by the light of Jesus in our own lives. And as he finally states, all the workers of immortality will inspire us. And this is consoling, right? We know that the workers of immortality is right here with us and are inspiring all of us, the inhabitants of earth, so that we can emerge from our own debris of wrongdoing to rise towards other shores of the universe, to the comprehensive that we are not alone in this universe, that we are not the only planet inhabited by human beings, by the sons of God, and we are part of a much larger reality, that Earth will be finally entering a phase as a regenerated planet to understand its role in a larger civilization full of planets in millions and billions of stars, different stars, billions of other planets, not only in our Milky Way, our galaxy, but also understanding that we have billions of other galaxies also, and we will see other shores of the universe and understand that we are a part of a universal family that must come together in fraternity, in love, in justice, in peace, and in good. Jesus is our pathway to that, the pathway to light and to truth. So help us, God, to understand that. Thank you so much for being with us. I hope to see you next week. And from Belo Horizonte, Marco Gander and I give you a big hug. See you.